May we please have introductions beginning with the noticing attorney, followed by all other counsel.
Okorie Okorocha, for the plaintiff, Mr. Motor.
Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury the testimony you give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Dr. Spiehler.
Good morning.
So I want to start with your educational background, and I'm strictly asking about education you received, not anything you taught to anybody. Even if you taught Watson and Crick how the DNA double helix works, that's not my question. I'm only asking about education you received. Now, in your undergraduate degree was in chemistry, correct?
Yes, I have a degree in chemistry, bachelor's degree.
And you also have a master's degree in chemistry, correct?
My master's degree is in analytical chemistry.
Okay. Now, in both your bachelor's and master's degree, you did not take any courses titled pharmacology nor toxicology. Isn't that correct?
No, during the master's, I took a course in drug, I don't remember the title of it, but it was about natural drugs that come from plants.
Okay. And alcohol doesn't come from plants.
Well, it could.
Okay. But you didn't take any courses titled pharmacology nor toxicology, correct?
I don't remember the titles. I don't think so. I don't think there'd be such a general title on an undergraduate course or graduate course. They'd be specific.
Did any course have the words pharmacology or toxicology in your master's or bachelor's degrees?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. Okay.
No.
Now, for your PhD program, you obtained the PhD program from the University of California, Irvine, correct?
I did.
Okay. And you were not enrolled in the medical school as a medical student, correct?
That's correct.
And you aren't licensed to give any kind of medical assistance to any patients, correct?
That's correct. I'm not an MD.
Okay. Have you ever written an order in a patient chart?
I don't know. I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I have no recall of ever doing that.
All right. And in your PhD program, you did not take any courses titled pharmacology that you earned academic credit for. Isn't that correct?
No, I took the pharmacology course along with the medical students, and I taught the pharmacology laboratory for the medical students.
I didn't ask you what you taught. And I said earlier, even if you taught Watson and Crick how the DNA double helix works, that's not my question.
Okay, well, you asked a question and she answered the question. So let's try to stay away from being unnecessarily aggressive.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Do you remember having your deposition taken in a case of it was Penhall versus Flatiron?
I think that might have been the young man that fell down the stairs in a nightclub.
Okay.
And passed away, and he was deceased. Is that the case?
I'm not sure. I just have the transcript because I took the deposition, And you were specific, do you recall being specifically asked? Do you recall how many pharmacology courses you earned academic credit for? Not taught, but took a class and earned academic credit for. And you said, no, most were tutorial level as a graduate students, where I was discussing the class with professors and doing assignments from the professor and giving them oral and written, or an oral or written report to them. I don't know how the credits were organized at that time. Do you recall giving that testimony?
No, I don't.
Okay, is
That
it
is a
true?
good, that is a description of how it was taught.
Okay, so in response to, do you recall how many pharmacology courses that you earned academic credit for your PhD? You answered no, correct?
No, I did, at that time, I didn't.
Okay. And is there
That-
any
Is
great,
is that the case involving the death on the freeway? I'm still not sure Penhall versus Flatiron, which case you're talking about.
okay? Now when asked, okay, well, let me just ask you, at the University of California, Irvine, were there any toxicology courses that you earned academic credit for, other than a general course in toxicology?
I don't recall if there were other courses. I did take a course from Dr. Schunk. And I don't recall the title of it, but I do think it was a general course in toxicology.
Okay. And that course was largely environmental toxicology, correct?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. And environmental toxicology is generally not about blood alcohol testing, correct?
That's true.
Okay.
I wouldn't put that under environmental toxicology.
All right. So we've covered coursework in your bachelor's, master's, and PhD. I want to go to your dissertation, and so, okay. Now, what was your PhD dissertation about?
The PhD one
Yes.
was about a drug that is a adrenergic blocker, phenoxybenzamine, and how it might interact with pain control and pain impulses in the human body.
Okay. How many times does the word alcohol appear in your dissertation?
No, it didn't treat with alcohol at all.
Okay. And how many times were blood alcohol test results used in any part of your dissertation?
Neither of my dissertations, the master's or the doctoral, included alcohol.
Okay. Now, in your medical school training, were you clinically trained or laboratory trained?
I was not clinically trained.
Were you
So I guess
laboratory
one could
trained?
conclude that it was laboratory and lectures. I did attend the lectures.
Okay, so you were laboratory trained, not clinically trained, correct?
I've never heard the term laboratory trained with regard to the medical school. attended the lectures and taught the labs. I
Okay.
attended some of the labs, but I wouldn't call that laboratory trained.
Okay. Do you remember saying that you were lab trained in a deposition in Cruz versus Toshiba taken by Michael Norris?
No, I do not.
Okay. Let me attach. How do I do exhibits that I want to attach?
You can share screen if you'd like.
All right. Okay, let's share screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So at the top of the highlights, well, let's start here. See the name, your name up here?
Right.
And then it's Cruz versus Toshiba. And you were asked, are you lab trained or clinically trained? And you responded, lab trained. Do you recall that?
No, I don't, but I could believe that.
Is that true?
What I meant by lab trained was I did not work with actual.
I'm just asking
patients.
you if
Excuse me,
that's what you
counsel.
said.
Counsel, she was answering the questions and there's no
No,
reason.
she wasn't. I asked
No,
if
no, no,
she
no,
said
no, no, no,
that,
no,
and she's
no.
giving me a dissertation.
There's no reason for you to speak to her in that disrespectful tone of voice. And there's no reason for you to be aggressive like this. Now, if you're going to ask her a question about what she testified to in another deposition, you need to let her answer the question. But if you're going to be that rude and that disrespectful, we're going to cut this off. Or in the alternative, I will give either Gene or Ryan the opportunity to step in so that we can take a complete deposition. But I will not subject her to that attitude from you.
Okay. Can I get a yes or no question as
No,
to
you
whether
can
she
let-
said she was lab trained or clinically trained?
You can let her answer the question that you posed without cutting her off.
Dr. Spiehler, did you say that you were lab trained in this deposition, yes or no?
When given the choice, I'd have to choose lab trained because I am definitely not clinically trained.
Okay. And what is clinically trained? What does that mean?
Working with actual human patients.
Working with actual humans. And for your dissertation, did you do any research using any living organism at all?
Animals, not humans, yes.
Okay. What kind of animals?
Rats and mice.
All right. Have you, now in this case, we have a hospital blood draw result. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And have you testified in the past that a forensic blood draw is the gold standard and more reliable than hospital draws?
Not the draw itself so much, because sometimes the forensic blood draw can be done by a hospital phlebotomist, but in the analysis and interpretation.
So when the blood is actually tested, the forensic blood testing is the gold standard and more reliable than the hospital test, correct?
It should be, if it follows the standards. Right now, we're working on standards in forensic alcohol testing as well as in drug testing. But if it follows those standards, it should be.
Did you review the deposition transcript of Marvin Petruska, MD?
I have received it and I did look at it this morning, but I've not read it through.
Okay. So Dr. Petruska talks about the College of American Pathologists and references the Federal Register and references how, well, the hospital test is performed using an enzymatic assay, correct?
I I presume it was, but I've not read a deposition from the person most knowledgeable at UCLA on their practices at the time of this testing.
Okay,
I have recently reviewed PMK deposition on what they were doing in 2018, but this was 2016. I don't have data on that.
okay. Well, assuming it was an enzymatic assay, that would not be forensic testing, correct?
Enzymatic assay, excuse me, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, because I just lost the screen. Hold on. There, now you're back.
Okay.
All right.
Uh,
So,
It could be. The Roche test has been used forensically.
okay. Now, do you agree with Dr. Petruska that according to the Federal Register and the CLIA standards, the test is allowed a margin of error of plus or minus 25%?
I did see that he said that, and I'm not familiar with that quote in the Federal Register, but we do allow plus or minus 20% when we're doing laboratory inspections.
Okay. Plus or minus 20%. All right. Now, in this case, do you have any evidence whatsoever as to whether the skin was cleansed using alcohol or not?
No, that's one of the things that would be asked if the person most knowledgeable for the blood draws was deposed, and that was, as far as I can tell, not done in this case.
Okay. Did you see any chain of custody?
That could be the medical records, because there are patient numbers on the medical records. And in 2016, they would have been using barcoding, but I didn't really look into that. And again, that might be something you would ask the person most knowledgeable. And I didn't see that deposition in this case, but I have seen it in other cases.
Okay. Well, I'm not asking about what the person most knowledgeable may know. I'm just asking, have you seen chain of custody documents that have who handled the blood and when, starting from when it was drawn to when it went to the lab?
I've not seen it in this case.
Okay. When you worked at the Orange County Crime Lab, did you use a chain of custody?
Yes, we did.
Why did you do that?
Because it was forensic.
No, but why did you do a chain of custody? What's the purpose?
Oh, the purpose of it?
Yes.
Just to show who touched the sample, who was responsible for the sample, how it was stored.
And it doesn't, is it used to establish that the sample tested is the same as the one collected?
I suppose that would be the rationale for that.
Okay. Now, for whatever instrument was used at the UCLA lab, do you know who the manufacturer or the model of the instrument?
I do not know for the 2016 testing of this sample. I do know it for other cases.
Okay. Now, when the blood was collected in this case, do you have any idea what kind of receptacle the blood was placed in, whether it was a vacutainer or any other type of collection device? Do you have any information on that? And I'm asking you personally.
No, I have no personal knowledge.
Okay. Do you have any personal knowledge of whether, or any knowledge from the records that you have regarding preservatives or anticoagulants?
No, I do not.
Are you familiar with a paper by Dr. Petri M. Ramey, and we're going to attach that as Exhibit 1. Relation between serum and whole blood ethanol concentrations, and that's in the Journal of Clinical Chemistry.
What year?
1993.
No, I haven't reviewed that recently. I did know Dr. Rainey, but I've not reviewed that paper.
All right. So you know Dr. Rainey. Do you hold him in high regard?
I don't recall. I was a clinical chemist and I was a member of the Clinical Chemistry Association in the 90s. I just recall the name.
Okay. And so you're not aware that Dr. Rainey has the range of how much the serum overstates the whole blood is 40 to 50%. You're not aware of that, correct?
No, I wasn't. I was more.
Okay. Now, are you aware of the potential errors associated with hospital enzymatic assay and lactate dehydrogenase and lactate? Are you aware of that situation?
Yes, I have followed that for many years because at one time I was responsible for clinical tests.
And what is your understanding of the margin of error that can be created by lactate and lactate dehydrogenase?
It differs for every test and is largely based on the way the test processes the enzymatic markers, whether they just look at an endpoint, whether they look at a dynamic change or a derivative of change. It's in the computer part of it.
Okay, so what is the potential error associated with lactate and lactate dehydrogenase on the hospital enzymatic assay test?
Depends on which test you use. Most of them have no error at all.
Okay, and you gave a similar statement when we were in a court in Stockton, and I impeached you thoroughly with the literature, correct?
Objection, that's argumentative. She doesn't have to answer that question.
Did you ever see the toxicology report from the hospital?
I don't recall.
Do you know who tested the blood?
I presume at UCLA. I don't know the individual.
Okay. Do you know how the blood got from Mr. Motor? Well, do you have any idea who drew the blood or where on the body it was collected from? If it was collected from an IV or vein or anything?
No, that would be something the person most knowledgeable from the hospital would testify to. I've not reviewed it for this case, but I do review it in many cases.
Okay. And all you can see in this case is a reference in Mr. Motor's chart, correct?
That's correct.
And you don't know how this BAC got into his chart, correct?
Well, it's all electronic. It's all done through computers, even in 2016.
Okay, and who inputted it?
I don't know about 2016. Today it goes, once it's approved or allowed, it goes automatically in from the machine.
Okay, did anybody approve it in this case?
Again, that would be something that would be covered by the person most knowledgeable deposition. I did not see that in this case. I've seen it in other cases for UCLA.
Did you see any toxicology reports other than just not the reference in the medical record, but any toxicology reports for this case?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect to. I'd expect to find data in the medical records.
I'm just asking if you saw any toxicology reports from this case anywhere.
I don't recall. It's been a couple of
Okay.
years since I looked at the documents.
Do you need a minute to check your files and let me know whether you see any toxicology reports?
Yeah, I'll look at the activity log.
Okay, I want you to look wherever you would have the information about any toxicology reports that you reviewed anywhere.
That's what I'm doing now. Something about marijuana. There was a question about marijuana and some documents. I don't recall them. Reviewing them.
Counsel, I asked if she had any toxicology reports for the blood alcohol test, and she's talking about marijuana.
Okay,
To me, toxicology means the drug screen, a urine
Okay.
toxicology test. So I'm sorry,
I'm
I
talking about
misunderstood your
alcohol.
question.
Okay, I'm talking about alcohol. Are you going to be giving any opinions in this case about marijuana?
If no, not really. I noticed that Dr. Petrushka was asked about marijuana, so I don't recall what he said about it.
Okay, so you don't plan on giving any testimony or opinions about marijuana. Is that correct?
I would answer that it is an intoxicant, and in the presence of marijuana, impairment due to alcohol is greater, but I don't know the case for Mr. Motor.
So you are going to testify about that?
Well, if I'm asked a question, as Dr. Petrushka was, I'd answer it.
Okay, and are you talking about marijuana from a urine drug screen?
No, I'm talking about marijuana in general. If it was present at the same time as alcohol, what the effect would be.
Okay. Now, what evidence what type of testing was done to establish that there was marijuana present?
I don't recall any testing that was done to establish that marijuana was present. You asked me if I'd reviewed anything, and looking at the documents I reviewed, I see there were documents about marijuana.
So at this point, you don't have any source. You don't know of any source or any reference in the medical records as to how any marijuana test results were obtained, correct?
That's correct. I wouldn't know whether they were word of mouth, interview with a social worker, a urine test, or a blood test.
Okay. And assuming the marijuana is present, do you know which marijuana metabolites were found?
I don't know if any were found.
All right. And because there is no chain of custody, and I'm not asking about what the person most knowledgeable from UCLA would know or say, you do not have any evidence that the blood collected was the source of the result attributed to Mr. Motor, correct?
Only the medical records, only the document that I reviewed.
Okay. Were there any marijuana tests performed in the emergency room?
Not normally wouldn't be. And I
Okay, but in
did not,
this case,
I don't recall whether there was anything done for this case.
okay, so you don't recall if marijuana was tested in the emergency room, correct?
That's correct. What I saw just now in reviewing it, that I did receive documents about marijuana, sales of marijuana, and that Dr. Petrushka was asked about marijuana.
Okay, do you want to check your files and see if you have it then? We can take a break for you to look.
For a urine toxicology test? In the
Or any
in 700
toxicology
pages
test.
of medical records?
Okay, from the emergency room, I'm talking about the emergency room, any test associated with marijuana that was performed in the emergency room.
No, a marijuana test would not be performed in the emergency room. You're talking about close to the patient testing? That might be done
I'm just
in the
asking about the
emergency room?
emergency room. No, anything in the emergency room.
No, they wouldn't test for marijuana in the emergency room.
Okay, do you want to take a break and you can check if there's any testing in the emergency room for marijuana?
Well, I think I'd remember it because that would be so unusual and actually
Alright, so is
technically
that a no?
impossible unless you're using a close to the patient test. It wouldn't be done in the emergency room.
Okay. Tell me the specific record you're referring to.
I'm looking at a page 147 that I had circled and printed out. Most of the records were electronic and were not printed out.
Okay, page
It says
146.
toxicology, serum toxicology, and it gives a alcohol result. If it continues on the next page, I could go look that up. 148 maybe.
All right, let's